Okay, so moving on to question number 4, which says, to be awarded a pass certificate in class 12 examination, a student must pass in English and Zonka and any other 2 subjects. A class 12 student estimated his chance of passing in English as 4 by 5. So the probability of him passing in English is 4 by 5. Next, he also estimated his chances of passing in physics as 5 by 6. Okay, so next, he also estimated the probability of him passing chemistry as 2 by 3. And the chances of him passing mathematics as 3 by 4. So 3/4. Now, what is the probability that he will be awarded a pass certificate on the condition that he received a pass mark in Zonka? So we can just directly assume that he passed in Zonka. So probability of him passing in Zonka it can be considered as 1, and it doesn't really need to be included in the calculation. So now we all know that the maximum probability of something happening is equal to 1. Now, and we also know that we can calculate the probability of something not happening by subtracting 1 from the probability of it happening. So to calculate the probability of the student not passing in English, we will have to subtract the 1 by the probability of him passing in English. So subtracting 1 from probability of him passing in English, we get 1 by 5. Next, if we do this to everything else, we can directly list them down. So the probability of him failing in English is 1 in 5. Probability of him failing in physics is 1 in 6. If you subtract 1 from 5 by 6, if you subtract 5 by 6 from 1, probability of him failing in chemistry is equal to 1 by 3 using this exact formula. The probability of him failing in mathematics is 1 in 4. Okay, so we have everything listed down. Now let's see what the question asks us. The question is asking us what the probability of him getting a pass certificate would be. Now, what are the requirements for getting a pass certificate? Well, to get a pass certificate, one must pass in English. He has to pass in English and he has to pass in Zonka as well. So these 2 are the main subjects. He must pass in these 2 to get a pass certificate, and he should also pass in the remaining any remaining subjects. He has to pass in 2 subjects. So he can either pass in physics and chemistry and fail maths, and he'll still receive a pass certificate. He could even pass in English, Zonka, mathematics, and chemistry, fail in physics, and he'll still receive a pass certificate. So that is how the system works. Now, let's calculate the chances of him receiving a pass certificate. So first of all, let's take the chance. Let's find the chances of him passing in all of the subjects. So to do this, we have to calculate the probability of him passing in English, the probability of him passing in physics, the probability of him passing in chemistry, and the probability of him passing in mathematics. Now, that is one scenario where he gets the pass certificate. Another way he can get the pass certificate is by, well, he has to pass in English because it's a necessary subject, but he could fail in physics and pass in the other subjects. He could fail in physics and then pass in the remaining subjects and still receive a pass certificate. So that is another scenario where he receives a pass certificate. Next, he could pass in English and pass in physics, but fail in chemistry and pass in mathematics, and he would still receive a pass certificate. Another way he can receive the pass certificate, so another way he can receive the pass certificate is by passing in English, passing in physics, passing in chemistry, and failing in mathematics. So these are all the possible ways in which he can receive a pass certificate. Now let's do the calculations. Probability of him passing in English is 4 by 5. 4 by 5 multiplied 2. Probability of him passing in physics is 5 by 6 multiplied 2. Probability of him passing in chemistry multiplied to the probability of him passing in mathematics. I hope you all know why we do not include the possibility of him passing in Zonka, because he is guaranteed to pass in Zonka, and multiplying by 1 will not bring any changes to the calculations. Next, the probability of him, this is the scenario where he passes in English and the rest of the subjects but fails in physics. Okay, so the probability of him passing in English would be 4 by 5. Probability of him passing in physics would be 5 by 6. Failing in physics, sorry. Probability of him failing in physics is 1 in 6. So 1 by 6. Next, the probability of him passing in chemistry is 2 by 3. And the probability of him passing in maths is 3 by 4. Next, we have to calculate the probability of him failing in chemistry but passing in all of the other subjects and receiving a pass certificate. So the probability of him passing in English is 4 by 5. Probability of him passing in physics is 5 by 6. He has a 1 in 3 chances of failing chemistry, and sorry about that. He also has to pass in mathematics, and the chances of him passing in mathematics is 3 in 4. Next, we have to account for this final possibility, this final scenario, where he passes in all of the subjects but fails in mathematics. So the probability of him passing in English would be 4 in 5. Probability of him passing in physics is 5 by 6. He passes in chemistry 2 out of 3 times, and he fails in mathematics 1 in 4 times. So here we go. Now if you plug in all of these values into the calculator, you will get the answer as 1 by 3 plus 1 by 15 plus 1 by 6 plus 1 by 9, which is roughly equal to 0.744. So there we go. We have the probability or the chances of him receiving a pass certificate, and we did this by taking into account all the different ways in which he could receive a pass certificate. We calculated the probability of him passing in all of the subjects. We calculated the probability of him passing in all of the subjects but falling short in physics. We calculated the probability of him passing in all of the subjects but failing in chemistry, and then finally the possibility of him failing in maths but passing all of the remaining subjects. So by taking all of this into account, by calculating the probability of all of these happening, we have finally gotten our answer as 0.744. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to question number 4b, we are given this equation: x square minus 4x plus 4y square plus 4x minus 8y plus 3 equals to 0, and we're asked to show that this equation represents a pair of straight and parallel lines. So parallel lines meaning, okay, so this equation will obviously represent a pair of straight lines, but we're asked to show that the pair of straight lines are parallel to each other, which means the slope of the first line and the slope of the second line must be equal to one another. So I hope you all got that. Now next, we're also asked to find the distance between them. So first of all, let's prove that this equation represents a pair of straight and parallel lines. Now to do this, let's first of all break this large equation down into two smaller ones. So this equation that represents a pair of straight line can be broken down into two equations, each representing a line. Now to do this, we'll have to use the quadratic formula. I hope you all remember it. It is x is equals to negative b plus minus root of b square minus 4 of ac divided by 2a, when your equation looks something like ax square plus bx plus c equals to 0. So I hope you all remember how we use the quadratic equation to break down a pair of straight lines. Now, before we do this, let's arrange this equation in a better way. So let's arrange this so that this equation looks like that of a quadratic formula. Now, let's first of all arrange all of the terms having x square. So out of all of these terms, only this term has x square in it. So let's put this first. Next, what we want to do is we want to group all of the terms containing x in the second term. So we can do this by looking at the equation. So this term and this term contains x. So we can group them together as 4 minus 4y multiplied to x. We have made this a single term. Next, we can uh, arrange all of the remaining terms together. So 4y square minus 8y plus 3 should be equal to 0. Now this looks somewhat like a quadratic equation if you compare this with the standard quadratic formula. You will notice that a will be equal to 1, b will be equal to 4 minus 4y, and c will be equal to 4y square minus 8y plus 3. Now what you want to do is to find the possible values of x, you just want to plug in these values into the quadratic equation. So the quadratic formula. So what is the value of b? The value of b is 4 minus 4y. So negative 4 minus 4y plus minus root of. What is b square? B square is 4 minus 4y whole squared minus 4 of, what is the value of a? The value of a is 1. What is the value of c? The value of c is 4y square minus 8y plus 3. Okay, whole divided by 2a. Now what is the value of a? The value of a is 1. So okay, we have plugged in all of the values into the quadratic formula. Now let's expand them. So negative multiplied to a positive number is always negative. Negative multiplied to a negative number is always positive. So this will give us 4y minus 4 plus minus. Now I hope you all know the expansion of a minus b whole square. This is what I'll be doing here. So a minus b whole square is equals to a square, which is 16, plus b square, which is 16y square, minus 2ab. So this will give us 4 4s are 16 times 2, 32. 32y subtracted by 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. So 16y square multiplied to and then 4 times 8 is 4 times negative 8 is if only it's 32, negative 32y, and then 4 multiplied to 3 is 12. Okay, so I hope you all understood this portion. Whole divided by 2. 2 times 1 is 2. Now we have 4y minus 4 plus minus 16 plus 16y square minus 32y subtracted by, so negative positive is negative, negative negative is positive, and negative positive is negative. Okay, the whole divided by 2. Now we all know that 16y square minus 16y square will cancel out, and then these two terms also cancel out. Now we are left with 16 minus 12, which will give us 4, and the root of 4 is 2. So x should be equals to 4y minus 4 plus minus 2 divided by 2. So if you simplify this, you actually get two equations. X is equals to 2y minus 2 plus minus 1. So now you finally get two equations. So first equation being x is equals to 2y minus 2 plus 1, so minus 2 plus 1 will give us minus 1. X equals to 2y minus 2 minus 1 will give us 2y minus 3. So now you get two equations which will look something like this. But you have to prove that they are parallel to each other. So to prove that they are parallel to each other, we already know that their slopes have to be equal to each other. Now continuing where we left off, we have two equations here, and to show that they are parallel to each other, we have to show that the slope of the two equations is same. So let's change this equation from standard form to the slope and y-intercept form to get the slope in an easier manner. This can be done by moving y to one side and the other variables and constants to another. X plus 1 to taking y and 2 over there. So we have half x plus half. That is your first equation in the slope and y-intercept form. The second equation will look something like this. 2y is equals to x plus 3. So y will be equals to half of x plus 3 by 2. That is your second equation just in the slope and y-intercept form. Now we all know that the slope and y-intercept form looks something like y equals mx plus c. If c is a constant, it doesn't matter, but the coefficient of x will be the slope of the curve in the slope and y-intercept form. So let's look at the second equation. The coefficient of x is half, which means the slope of the second curve will be half. Okay, now let's look at the first equation. The coefficient of x is half, which means the slope of the first equation will be half. So since half is equals to half, we can directly conclude that the slope of the first equation is equal to the slope of the second equation, thereby proving that the two lines represented by this equation of the pair of straight lines are parallel to each other. So I hope you all understood this portion. Next, we also have to calculate the distance between the two parallel lines. Now, there's not really a direct method to calculate the distance between two lines, but what we can do is calculate the distance between a point and a line. We do have a formula for that. So what we are going to do is we are going to find a point on a curve, any curve. So let's take the curve of the first equation. So let's take equation number 1 here, which shows that x is equals to 2y minus 1. And let's try to find a point on this graph. Let's try to find its y-intercept, which means the value of x will be equivalent to 0. So its y-intercept will be located at 0y. Now what is the value of y when x is equals to 0? You can easily calculate this. Value of x is equals to 0, so 2y minus 1, y will be equals to half. So replacing the value of y in the coordinates here, we get 0 and half. This is a point on the curve of the first equation. So if this is the line represented by the first equation, then 0 half is a point on this line. I hope you all understood this. So this is a point on the first equation. Now what we can do is we can calculate the distance between the curve of the second equation, so this line, and the point on the first curve, and that will actually give us the distance between the two lines. I hope you all understood this, and you can do this by using the formula distance is equals to ax plus by plus c divided by root of a square plus b square whole modulus. We put a modulus here because the distance can never be negative. Now, okay, so ax plus by plus c, what you'll have to do here is you have to substitute this with the equation of the line. So since we took the point on the first equation, we will be taking the equation of the second line here. So we'll be taking 2y minus 3. Okay, so x minus 2y minus 3 minus x, we can take it like this in the standard form. So negative x minus plus 2y minus 3. Okay, divided by what is the value of a here? Value of a is negative 1. So negative 1 squared plus what is the value of b here? The value of b is 2. So 2 squared whole root, and then don't forget the modulus. Now what you have to do next is substitute the value of x with the coordinates of the point on the first line. Okay, now let's do that. Let's do just that. So substituting the coordinates into this equation, okay, so instead of x we can substitute 0 here, so 0 plus, instead of y we can substitute half, so 2 times half will give us 1 minus 3. So 1 minus 3 will give us negative 2. Negative 1 squared is 1 plus 4 is 5. So the distance will be equal to 1 minus 3, which is equal to negative 2 divided by root of 5, and don't forget the modulus. So after applying the modulus, we get the distance between the two lines as 2 divided by root of 5, which is our answer. So I hope you all understood why I took a point in the first line, because we do not have an equation that directly allows us to calculate the distance between two lines. What we have to do is we have to find a point on the first line and find the distance between that point and the other line. So that is how I did it. And as for the first part of the question, I simply broke down the large equation into two smaller ones, which each represent a straight line, a linear curve, and I simply calculated their slopes and found out that the slope of both of the lines were equal, indicating that they are parallel to each other. So, okay, thank you. So question 5a says, a school has 7 periods of 40 minutes each in a day. Commerce stream has 6 different subjects. In how many ways can we organize these subjects such that each subject is allocated at least 1 period in a day? So the question is basically asking us to create something like a timetable consisting of 6 periods, 6 subjects that will be assigned 1 period. So I have underlined this line because we have to place special emphasis on this. The question says that each subject has to be allocated at least 1 period in a day. So this means that a subject cannot be skipped, and each subject must be taught at least once in a day. So to ensure that each subject is taught once in a day, we have to arrange uh, the 6 subjects in the 7 periods. So arrangement means we will be using the concept of permutation, and we will be arranging, assigning 7 periods, 6 subjects. So this can be done in 7p6 ways. Now, after assigning 6 of the periods, 6 subjects, we still have one more period left over that does not have a subject assigned to it. So what we will do with it is, so you will notice that since all of the 6 subjects are already taught, one of the subjects will be repeated. Meaning, for instance, English might be taught twice in a day, or math might be taught twice in a day. So we have to select one subject that will repeat, that will be taught twice in a day. So to select one subject out of 6, we will be selecting one subject out of 6 subjects to repeat. So this can be done in 61 ways because combination is used for selection. So combining these two, we get the total number of ways to organize 6 subjects in 7 periods. So we just have to multiply these two. We will get 7p6 times 6c1. Now, if we say that this is the answer, we are forgetting something. We are forgetting the fact that one of the subjects is repeating. And whenever there is repetition, we have to divide it by a certain number. So in this case, since one of the subjects is repeating 2 times, we will be dividing it by 2 factorial. If one of the subjects were to be repeating 3 times, we would be dividing it by 3 factorial and so on. So when we plug in these values into the calculator, we should get 15,120 ways. Okay, so question 5b asks us to compute the eccentricity, the foci, the equation of the directrices, the length of the lattice rectum, the length of the axis for the conic section 8x squared plus 6y squared equals to 96. So since there's an addition sign here, we should directly know that this conic section equation represents an ellipse. So this is the standard equation of an ellipse. You might notice that these two equations have nothing in similar. At least they do not look similar to us. You cannot equate anything, you cannot compare the values. So let's try to change this equation so it looks similar to this standard equation of an ellipse. So how are we going to do this? You'll notice here that the right hand side has a 1, so in the standard equation. So let's try to change the right hand side of this conic section into 1 as well. You can do this by dividing both sides by 96. This will give you the equation x squared by 12 plus y squared by 16. Now keep in mind that in ellipse specifically, especially in ellipse, the greater denominator will always be equal to a. So a will be 4 in this case, a square will be 16, and b square will be 12. The greater denominator will always be a square, and the smaller denominator will always be b square. So keeping this in mind, we have the values of a, we have the values of b as well. And our equation looks very similar to the standard equation of the ellipse. By having these values, you should be able to visualize what your ellipse looks like. Now, since the denominator of y square is greater than the denominator of x square, this means your ellipse is a vertical ellipse. So your ellipse will look something like this. Now, we all know that for this equation, for the standard equation, the center of the ellipse will be located at the origin. Now, additionally, we also know that from the diagram, the focus of the ellipse will be located at 0 AE and 0 negative AE, and the vertexes will be located at A and negative A, sorry, and uh, these parts will be located at B and negative B. Now the directrices will be drawn at y is equals to A by E and y is equals to negative A by E. So simply by converting your equation to match the standard equation of the ellipse, you are able to visualize what your ellipse will look like. Now we are free to compute the eccentricity, foci, directrices, and everything. So to compute the eccentricity, we all know that the equation of the eccentricity of an ellipse is equals to 1 minus b square by a. Eccentricity equals to root of 1 minus b square by a square. So eccentricity will be equal to 1 minus b square is 12 and a square is 16. In this case, 3 by 4, 4 minus 1. You will be getting the eccentricity of root of 1 by 4. Root of 1 is 1, root of 4 is 2. Okay, so now that we have the eccentricity, we need to find the foci. So judging by the diagram, your foci, the coordinates of your foci will be at 0 plus minus AE. So the coordinates of your foci will be at 0 plus minus. The value of A can be found from the equation itself. Since A square is equals to 16, we all know that A will be equals to 4. because the root of 16 is 4. So 4 times the eccentricity is half. So now the coordinates of the foci will be 0 plus minus 2. So now we have the eccentricity and the coordinates of the foci. Next, we have to find the equation of the directrices. If you are able to visualize what your ellipse will look like, this will be very easy. The equation of the directrices will be y is equals to plus minus a by e. Plus minus because there will be two directrices. Y is equals to plus minus, the value of a is 4 as we have found earlier, and value of e is half. We will reciprocal this, take this up, and the equation of the directrices will be equals to 4 times 2, which is 8. Okay, now we have the foci, eccentricity, the equation of the directrices. Next, we have to find the length of the lattice rectum. So the length of the lattice rectum can be determined by okay, so it can be found by the formula 2b square by a. So 2 times b square can be found from the formula that we have made, or the equation that we have made. 2 times 12 divided by 4. So 6. So the length of the lattice rectum will be equals to 6 units. So lastly, we have to find the length of the axis of the conic section. So looking at the diagram, this will be your major axis because it's longer, and this will be your minor axis. So the length of your major axis will be equals to 2a, and the length of your minor axis will be equals to 2b. So the length of your major axis will be equals to 2a. Since the value of a is 4, you get 2 times 4, which is equals to 8. So the major axis will have a length of 8. Next, you have to also find the length of your minor axis. This will be given by 2b. Now, since b square is equals to 12, we know that b is equals to 2 root of 3. So 2 times b will be 2 times 2 root of 3, which is equals to 4 root of 3. So yes, we are done. We have found the eccentricity, foci, the equation of directrices, the length of the lattice rectum, and the length of the axis for the conic section. You simply have to change your equation so that it looks similar to the standard equation of the ellipse, and then try and visualize what the ellipse should look like. Then you should get your answer.